Welcome. I'm John Wesley, the Journeyman Guitarist. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the things. I have a Patreon channel if you want to get into helping me by supporting this crazy music journey that I'm on. Please feel free to check that out. All right. The last video, I kind of discussed the blank slate, songwriting from the beginning. Songwriting is hard. It's a difficult process. You're literally trying to create something out of thin air, something out of nothing, reaching into your mind, your heart, your soul, and trying to bring something to life that's good, make good art. All right, well, there's a lot of wide definitions for that, but let's say you want to make your version of good art. I come from a guitarist perspective. Like I said, I have a keyboardy type thing, but yeah, it's just for one finger sound things and overdubbing little drum soundies and stuff like that. I can't play keyboards. I passed enough. I played enough to get through college. That was it. All right. So what I want to talk to you today is for those of us guitar players that are in the room, we want to be in the room with our stuff. And let's say you've got a nice amp of some sort that you want to use and you want to be able to capture it. You want to put something on the blank slate. Well, there's a couple ways to do that. Now, I'm very fortunate in that I have a big studio, well, not big, but a functional studio that has two different rooms. So I can actually put cabinets, guitar cabinets in another room. And I have a shed out back where I can actually put another guitar cabinet out there in an ISO box. So that is a box that is built out of plywood. I don't know if you've ever seen the Tim Pierce videos, but he has a similar ISO box. I've built a couple of these things through the years. I think I built my first ISO box in the early 2000s. Anyway, it's massive thick plywood walls with a Marshall 4x12 and a 57 and a 421 on a Celestian greenback mic'd, and then those mic cables run in here into the studio, and I run a cable from my Marshall heads out, or whatever head I happen to be using, Bad Cat Marshall, whatever, and I run out into that ISO box. But let's say most of you, I am assuming, would not be as sad as I am and will have put something as ridiculous as that together. And you just want to write some songs. Really, all you need is a laptop. I have a laptop, but right here, right now, I've got a little Mac Mini with my full Pro Tools setup. So let's say you have a laptop running Logic or Pro Tools or something like that. The first thing you're going to need, we talked about this in the last video, is you're going to need an interface. All right, so you can get one of the UA boxes. These little Focusrites are awesome, so you get that. And then if you're running an amp in the room, and that's what this video is about, because obviously it's easy to open up a plug-in and plug your guitar into the interface and figure out the latency, get all that going in your DAW and make that work. But what if you're kind of like me and you kind of like amps in the room sometimes? I have a couple of beautiful combos here. I have this Bad Cat Hot Cat 30, and I have an old 1957 Fender Tweed Deluxe that I like to record. And I usually do that in the room. So let's say you live in an apartment or you live in a house and you've managed to turn one of your rooms into a little place where you can record. I have a good friend of mine up north who I just guided him through this process, and it's working really well for him. What you can do is you can mic that amp and run that microphone into the input, into the mic input of your interface, because these come with built-in mic pre's. You don't need a rack of Neve style mic pre's. You have a nice, really super clean mic pre, usually in the interface that you have, and you can run that mic in front of your cabinet, mic the cabinet into your DAW. Now, that's all great, but let's say you want to do it to a click track, and you don't want the click to be bleeding into your amp, or you don't want your amp to be coming through the speakers that you're running your DAW through. How do you do that? Well, obviously, you're going to have to mute that rig and go to headphones. So the way that works is real simple. Every one of these little input boxes, these little interfaces, will have a headphone output. So what you'll do is, mine is over here. These are all my interfaces, and I have a whole control room set up here, and I put a headphone out input there. And then when I go to tracking the guitar, I will mute the speakers in the room so that the speakers don't go into the mic of the cabinet, and I'll put the headphones on and track that way. That way I can track over a click, I can track over a loop, I can track over drums, because I actually do have a drum room next door. So sometimes I have this good friend of mine who's been playing drums with me for a very long time. He's got his drum set up in there. We have them fully mic'd, and they run into these inputs, and sometimes we play together and we can record, and there's no bleed because of the way I've got everything mic'd up. Now, how would you do that if you don't have a lot of money, and you want to get that, your amp and your pedals and everything, and you want that sound into your DAW? Well, you need a mic cable, which, you know, obviously everyone knows what a mic cable is, but here's something that I find really handy, and it is a Shure SM57. I mean, there's many styles of guitar mics out there. I don't think I've ever recorded seriously a cabinet or a guitar amp without at least 157 on it. So what I do is we'll put my typical recording setup, and this is something I'll go in depth later as we get a little more complex, is usually a 57 and a 421 on a cabinet in another room, and then I'll run that into 2 channels. But you don't have to get that complicated. All you need to do is you need to have your amp in your room and your pedals set up and your DAW and your headphones on, and then you can take this 57, and this is called a Z-bar. Z-bar, this one's actually got a Z on it. I'm not sure if the company Z-bar is still in existence anymore, because I might have had this for a few years and it might have been on a few tours and done a few gigs. But I have a bunch of these Z-bars, and so what you do is you put the 57 in the mic clip of the Z-bar, and you can slide it and you can hang it down from your amp, like your cabinet, like this, or you can put it underneath and then you put it on the speaker. Now, when you're looking at the speaker, there's the big cone and then there's a little dust cover in the middle, and you can use a flashlight to actually go through the screen of your amp and see the dust cover. And if the dust cover is here, I usually like to put the 57 right about the edge of the dust cover to capture kind of the rip, and yet a little bit of the chunk of the bigger part of the speaker. Because the way it works is where the dust cover is, that's where you're going to get your most kind of high end, and then as you move out, it will get warmer and warmer and warmer. So typically what I'll do is I'll put a 57 kind of here, and then I'll put a 421 next to it to capture some of the guts. And I put both diaphragms of the microphones on the same plane, but we'll go over that in another video. But that's the way to get it started. So you just slip one of these under your combo amp, run that mic cable into your interface, mute all the sound in the room, mute your speakers that you normally monitor with headphones, and get a good sound. Record it a little bit, listen back through your speakers, record it, listen back through your speakers, and then when you start tracking, you can track over drum loops, you can track over yourself, you can stack guitars that way, and you can turn one room into an entire recording studio. You don't need to go to a studio anymore. I mean, well, you know, if you got a lot of money and you can really afford to get into a place, like we have a place here in Tampa called More Sound Studios. And if you can get in there, well, my gosh, get in there. But if you don't, if you're like me and you got to do a lot of let's just say writing on the blank slate on your own in a room by yourself, this is one way to do it. There are many methods to bringing that art to life. But you can do it in one room. I mean, Phineas recorded Billie Eilish and most of their early hits in the bedroom of their house. So it can be done. So I hope that you will join me on this strange journey that we're on, trying to make art. And I hope you'll grab a microphone and your guitar amp or your plugins And whatever it is that you do, and start filling up the blank slate. Start making some music. John Wesley, the Journeyman Guitarist, signing out. I will catch you next time.